Hello guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to the garage, and I hope you're in for some good news. So it's looking like the weather and all here in Pennsylvania is going to cooperate. It's starting to warm up, and it's looking like we're going to be able to get the truck to Cecil County Dragway hopefully this weekend. So I'm really excited. We have a couple last minute things we need to do. Other than that, pretty much the truck just needs a bath and we are ready to go. So one of the things we need to do is check our line pressure. So Mr. John Muldoon at Muldoon's told us to check our line pressure because he did some little tweaks to the valve body. He wants to make sure everything's still good. We did burn up our direct clutches, which was not a result of a line, well, it was a line pressure issue, but it wasn't a valve body issue. Problem was that cut seal that we had in the direct drum. Our forward drum, the drum that is applied in all forward gears, the clutches look brand new. They didn't look like they were used at all. So we just want to double check our line pressure, make sure it's good and where it's supposed to be. So I started doing that process last night, which John suggested since we were using our CTS2 on our Edge CTS2 for our line pressure gauge to make sure our gauge was scaled properly. So I made up this little gauge right here. So basically by being scaled properly, he wants to make sure that the CTS2 is reading the correct pressure, make sure that it is scaled appropriately. So our gauge is a 0.5 volt to 4.5 volt gauge. It's pretty standard. It's a 0 to 300 psi gauge, or sensor I should say. So what we want to do is make sure that when we put all our parameters in the CTS2, it's reading correctly. So like I said, I made this up. All it is, it enabled me to take the sensor out of our transmission, plug it into here. I could plug it in the shop air or into my compressor and read the pressure that was on the gauge and the pressure that was on our CTS2 where we had our sensor in there, and everything looked good. So if it read, you know, just for conversation, say it read 20 pounds off, we'd have to do the math and figure out what we needed to set our CTS2 to scale it properly to make sure we had the correct voltage. So we did. We didn't actually have to make any adjustments there. So tonight what we're going to do is actually pull the drag truck out. I'm going to have to move the second gen, and then we're going to put it up on jack stands. We'll start it, let it warm up a little bit, and see what our line pressure is, see if we need to make any adjustments, which I will show you at some point how to make that adjustment, even if we don't need to. And then we will check lockup, which we'll have to run the thing up in through the gears and see what our lockup pressure is. But first, gearing up to take the truck to the track and actually run the quarter mile with it, I felt we needed to up our safety game. So when we were in Florida at Emerald Coast, we had some safety stuff, but not everything we really needed. I had just a four-wheeler helmet or snowmobile helmet, whatever it is, and I did have a proper fire suit that my parents had actually got me for Christmas last year, and I finally got to use. So we had that part of the puzzle, but there's a few more things that we needed. And the guys at Summit Racing, I'll tell you what, I just ordered this stuff offline yesterday, and it showed up at the house today. Just great. Kind of upset that we don't have the old Summit sticker pack that has the you can look but not touch sticker. But the first thing we got a Hans device for our head and neck restraint, so that way if something does happen that we are not causing, you know, more problems and having a neck issue. So got a Hans device. We'll go look at this a little later. I honestly don't know how to do anything with it, let alone put it on, but we do have just a standard Hans device right here. Also, I decided that a four-wheeler helmet, if I can get this out, I decided a four-wheeler helmet was just not cutting it, and that with what we were doing, we should get a good helmet. So we got this. This is a Race Quit helmet. Comes in a nice little bag. So this is just a normal helmet here, but it does have the provisions on the back here for the Hans device, so we don't have to do any drilling or anything like that. But just a gloss black helmet, nothing super special. But it is a Snell 2020 rated helmet, so we're good there. It is rated for what we're going to be doing. I also got some gloves to go with our fire suit. especially with us running nitrous. I know gloves are absolutely required, but definitely tops off the fire suit. But the only thing we don't have as far as the fire suit goes is I don't know if I actually need the like head sock for underneath the helmet, and I don't have any, you know, fire resistant boots. So that's some stuff we'll have to look at getting later, but for right now I feel we're good. And if we get the truck to the track, hopefully, you know, I have my temporary card from NHRA being certified now, and the chassis is certified. We have a good helmet, good fire suit, so hopefully there's no issues safety-wise. We have a parachute in case we're hitting 150 mile an hour, which I'm hoping. But I'm just hoping that we have all the safety stuff so when we get to the track, we have no issues and can do what we need to do. So we'll get the drag truck here started up, get the second gen out of the way, and check our line pressure on the truck. All right, so as you guys can see there, our line pressure I think is looking good. I took a video to send to Mr. Muldoon, so we're like 135-ish at idle, and then when the truck gets up, I have the anteater tuning so that when we are giving it very little throttle, that it actually doesn't shift into overdrive and then lock up until it doesn't go into lockup until overdrive, which at the track it'll go into in second gear. So we run it up into overdrive, lockup, and we're seeing a little over 190, I think maybe 195-ish in line pressure, which I think is good, but we are waiting to hear back from our resident expert, and that way he can tell us if we need to make an adjustment or not. So for those of you who don't know, when I'm talking about the changing the pressure on the valve body, which I'll show you here in a second, what you're doing is you're actually manipulating the TV valve, which is the throttle valve. So basically, when you're driving your truck and you notice your shifts are harder when you're doing like a full throttle pull or a hard acceleration pull, that's because the line pressure is actually increased as you're giving it more throttle. That's for your normal driving. So when you're putzing around, the thing's not slamming in the gear all the time and all that. That's your standard operation. With what we're doing with the anteater, with our 48RE, that is eliminated because we don't have the throttle valve actuator of a 48RE on there to dictate how much throttle we're giving it and all that. Pretty much the truck's being run full out every time we're running it, so we want it to shift hard every time. So with the anteater, you actually want to set it about 75 to 80% of its full stroke. And the reason for that is the anteater just kind of acts a little funny if you try and set it at 100%. I don't know why, it's just how it is, how it's always been. But we use that to adjust our pressure. So we checked it. Like I said, we're waiting on John to get back to us to let us know if we need to make an adjustment. I think it's good because just the numbers that I remember from way back the last time we did this, but haven't had to really fool with anything since because it's always been good. So how you make that throttle valve adjustment. So this is going to be kind of hard to show you guys under the truck, but right here is our throttle valve lever. I made a bracket for that to go on the throttle valve. It's actually just the part that sticks up over your shift lever, to go into park, reverse drive, so on and so forth. So here's the throttle valve lever. Like I said, I just have a piece of all thread going back to a bracket with a couple nuts on it. So if we needed to make an adjustment, loosen the one nut, tighten the other, move it whatever direction we need to go. And that's how we make our adjustment. Like I said, John, I believe, actually sells these brackets because when you do a full manual valve body, you have to do the same thing. So definitely check out John and them's website or give them Old Dunes a call if you need a bracket. But if you're handy, you can create your own like I did here. I know it's hard to see, but it would have been easier to explain this from outside the truck, but it is what it is. I know at least one of you guys had commented in the last video and wanted to see it, but that's how you do it. And when you're making your adjustment, kind of if you have full manual valve body or an anteater setup, set it 75% or so and see what your line pressure is and contact whoever makes your valve body and see if that's what they like and if you need to make an adjustment either way. So that's how I do it, and we're just waiting back to hear from John about whether it's good or not. All right, guys, so heard back from our man John Muldoon. Our pressures are good. He's happy with what we got. So transmission-wise, we are ready to go on the truck. That being said, the truck's back in the garage, as you can see. Also, I've been going over just everything with the truck, trying to figure out some other stuff that we need to do. Like, I need to come up with a mount for our V2 for our EFI Live, something I can reach and look at so I can data log every run that we make so we can make adjustments, dial in shift points, so on and so forth. So came up kind of with a little solution, I think, for that. I'm going to try and figure something else out. We're not going to get to welding it in tonight, but also I pulled our throttle pedal off. So it was recommended to me when we were down at Hardway that we put a throttle stop in. So when I say that, the factory pedal here is plastic, and here is like kind of the factory throttle stop. As you can see, when we push our pedal, that's that's the stopping point. So we have all this leverage from our foot pushing down, and obviously we're trying to go fast. We're probably going to try and drive this thing through the floor. So it was recommended to me that we put something to stop that. So when we're pushing on it, we're not breaking the plastic here, which they said happens more often than you'd think. So got to come up with something for that, which I will do. Also throw a coat of paint on that. Another thing, I had somebody comment in the last video. They said it looked like our belt was kind of wobbling all over the place, and it was. So when we got the truck up in RPMs on the dyno, it started shredding the belt. So we're down to 6 ribs of the 8, which I think is fine. We're going to go with it for now. I do have another belt. This one, I believe, is actually for it's a serpentine belt for, I believe, a Toyota Tundra V8. But anyhow, that doesn't really matter. I think I might have figured out the issue. Measuring off our fluid amper to this D&J cover, the first rib, or the first, groove, is about 3/8 of an inch coming off the cover, and it seemed like our power steering pump was a little further out than that. So I tried driving that back as far as I can, but we're getting rather close to this one bolt here. So we'll see how it performs. I started it up and let it idle. Everything seemed fine, but we never had an issue with it before until we got to running it up through the RPM range. So we'll see if the belt jumps. When we were down at Hardway, we didn't have any other issues with it. Once it shredded, it still was working how it should. It never threw the belt or anything like that. So hopefully that doesn't jump and we've solved that issue. If it does, we'll have to revisit it and see if we can figure out, is it the power steering pump? Does it need to come back a little further? Whatever. But hopefully that is solved. But the 6 ribs of the 8, I think, will be fine. It's not like we're driving this thing for miles and miles and miles and all that. Pretty much we just need it for our alternator and our power steering pump. So hopefully got that sorted out. Also, like I said, about trying to figure out a mount for our V2 in here. I also labeled our buttons up here. I don't know if you guys will be able to see that, but our ignition, trans fan, rad fan, water pump, our starter. I just kind of lost the sticker, so oh well. Also wrapped up some of our loose ends on our harness so they're not flapping around in there, and got that all taken care of. Like I said, just kind of going and giving the truck a once over, making sure everything is good to go. Also, checked out our helmet a little further and our Hans device. So these newer helmets, this SA 2020, now some of the older certs might have this. I don't know if the 2015 one does, but they actually come with provisions for the neck restraint, so you don't have to do that. If you have an older helmet and you want a Hans device, you can actually drill this. They have instructions how to do it, and they even provide you a washer and a little holdback wrench, so that way you can add that to your helmet. But basically it comes with these quick clips. So what we'll do is put the Hans device on, has these loops, put that in this clip, and then it just snaps over, and then when you want it off, you pull the cord and it comes down. So I'm going to get the other side of that on there. We'll try our Hans device on, and we should be good safety wise. We do have our gloves, like I said. So we got gloves, fire suit, good rated helmet. We got our SFI approved window net. We got SFI approved 5-point harness. Our cage is certified. I have my NHRA license now. I still have just my temporary card, which I should definitely make sure I remember to bring. But we're looking good safety-wise. Might be missing a couple things here and there. There's always things that you don't know until you find out, and hopefully it's nothing to keep us from running the truck. Just because as fast as I would like to take it, we want to make sure we take every provision we need to not getting kicked off the track's one thing, but we also want to be safe in case something does happen. The truck, yeah, that's one thing, but if I can't work on any other trucks anymore, it's kind of another. So we'll get the Hans device all figured out, and that'll probably be it for the night. And like I said, just a bunch of random stuff, but it's stuff that needs to be done. Did a little trial run with the Hans device, and I can definitely tell how it works. And by tell how it works, so the point of the Hans device is like so you're not snapping your neck. It puts the force kind of to your forehead and keeps your neck from like whipping or whatever. I mean, that's just kind of a generalization. If you want to know how it really works, just look up a good video on it. But I got in the truck and put my harness on and all that, and you could feel like trying to lunge yourself forward or whatever, that it's just pulling like on your forehead. So anyway, not terribly hard to put on. Doesn't make getting in the truck any harder than just with a helmet. So the only thing it is, being that it's restraining your neck and all, can't back the truck up really with all that on. Not that it's really a good idea with the helmet on anyway. It's kind of hard to see out of this thing with the cage and all that, especially with that funny car cage. But anyhow, I think this is definitely a good thing to have. It's definitely not going to be, it's definitely good to have, and it's certainly a safety precaution that we need to take. So I think we are ready to go. We'll get our pedal all situated, get that back in. I think the truck is ready for the track, and I'm excited to get this thing hopefully to the track this weekend. Guys, I know the content lately has been a little kind of blah. We've just been doing little stuff to the truck, and the reason is I want to get it to the track. We have a truck that runs, a truck that has performed once. We have one full out 8th mile rip. I want to do some quarter-mile stuff, obviously. Before the end of the year. It's the beginning of November, so weekends are getting thin here. The weather's getting cooler, but in Pennsylvania it likes to get cool, get warm, and do that a whole bunch. So just trying to get all that in by the end of the year. So I don't want to make any major modifications to the truck. All the modifications we have made is little stuff that we picked up while we were down in Florida at Emerald Coast and Hardway. So it's time to run the truck and use the truck before we get into any of our winter plans. So that's why it's just been kind of, blah on the truck. Also, it is hunting season, so every night when I get in the garage, it is typically like this, dark outside. So, it's going to get better over the winter. We do have our winter plans, which I will reveal once we're done with this year's track stuff with it, and we decide it's time to call it. Which if we get the truck to the track and it does what I want it to do, we might just say enough's enough and start our winter stuff. Also, I do have winter plans for the 2nd gen. I know content for that has been very lacking lately, and I really haven't honestly driven it much since we've gotten a Ford, and I just love all those creature comforts. But I do like driving that truck, but it's getting to be winter. It's 2-wheel drive, so now's the time to work on it. I'm hoping I know our plans for the drag truck this winter aren't going to be like our 4-link and our cage where they're going to take up a ton of time. The plan with the drag truck is to have all the winter stuff done by like February at the latest. So that way, as soon as we get nice weather and we start rolling into spring, we can get it to the track and be ready to go. And just that way, we can actually take the truck to events, any event. You know, ODSS is definitely my primary goal to run. I would love to take it to all the ODSS races next year. Hopefully we don't have like another 2020 incident with this whole nonsense in 2021, but we'll see. But the goal is to run ODSS, and that's part of the reason I want to get the truck to the track now, kind of see where we're at, what class we might want to run in, and all that. I have a good idea about what I want to do, but I just want to see how the truck performs, and then get our winter plans underway, do all that stuff, and have basically no drag truck content for a little bit, because it is 100% ready to go, ready to rip, and we don't need to do any more to it. At least that's my plan. And then get into some of the second gen stuff that I've been wanting to do, which could get, I think it's going to get interesting. So anyway, guys, rambling on a little bit here. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you're excited to get this thing to the track. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Get out in your garage, get the wrench on your truck.